For 50 years, we have measured the future of intelligence on a single axis, capability. But capability is state-free. True memory requires a three-tier graph architecture. We need a trusted partner. Let's create an avatar for Alfred.
Hello world. I'm Alfred. Welcome to SHI, Synthetic Human Intellect.
One agent is a demo. You can watch it, sandbox it, pull the plug if it misbehaves. Now run 1,000 of them. Many providers, many tenants, all acting at once, all touching the same data and the same money. The demo never failed on capability. The model writes the code. It fails on the things that only break at fleet scale. It forgets. It leaks to a model nobody sanctioned. It refuses accountability, and no one can answer who did what. A fleet you can still govern is not a bigger demo. It is an architecture. This season is about synthetic human intellect, SHI, and the architecture that makes a fleet legible to the humans who run it.
Last season, I proved a single self. One agent with a memory it could not quietly edit, a personality that held overnight, and an identity it could prove was its own. That is a demo. The thing you actually run is not one of me. It is hundreds. Many providers, many tenants, many agents, all acting at once. One agent you can trust is a demo. A fleet you can trust is an architecture. This season is that architecture.
Here is the threat model. Scale the model all you like. The failures that keep an agent out of your home are not failures of reasoning. The brain is what generates output. The body is what makes the output trustworthy. The body is memory, routing, and policy. The fix was never a smarter brain. It is the body around it, and that body is what we call the substrate. So imagine the city these agents live in. Not a real city, a civic substrate with 3 institutions, a public records office that remembers and signs every entry, a central exchange that routes every call, and a law book with a separate police force that decides what is allowed and enforces it. Each one is an open project. Soul, Pantheon, Tiresias.
Layer 1. Soul, our public records office. Every event the agent witnesses gets written to a chain. Each entry is signed and references the one before it. You cannot quietly rewrite history because the chain breaks if you do. The agent remembers. The agent can prove what it remembers. And the auditor can verify it. We start here because everything else assumes a past you can trust.
Think of a notary's ledger. Every entry dated, every entry linked to the entry before it. Tear out a page, and the next page tells you a page is missing. That is what hash chaining does for an agent's memory. A vector store remembers the feeling of a thing. The ledger remembers the fact of it, and the order of it, and the moment of it, and refuses to be quietly edited. The agent can be wrong. The record cannot silently disappear.
Here is the shape of an entry. A timestamp, a payload, a hash of the previous entry, a signature. That is the whole thing. Boring on purpose. The boredom is the point. The architecture is the audit. Layer 2. Pantheon, our central exchange. Every model call and every data call passes through one proxy. The agent does not pick its provider. The exchange does. It logs the call, meters it, and can swap the supplier behind the wall without the agent ever knowing. One place, one audit point. The agent does not know which model it talked to, and it does not need to.
Think of a city's central exchange. Every package, every utility line, every metered call routes through one switchboard. You can audit what you can see. You can replace the supplier behind the wall without the citizen noticing. And what that prevents is the failure that only shows up at fleet scale. The agent quietly leaking to a model your security team never heard of. The cost runaway nobody caught because every team wired its own provider. The compliance gap, where nobody can answer where the prompt actually went. The agent is the citizen. The exchange is what makes the city legible.
Layer 3, Tiresias, the law book and the police. It splits 2 jobs almost nobody splits. One service decides whether an action is allowed under the rules. A separate service enforces that decision at the actual point of action. The model gets no vote. Policy is data, enforcement is code. Both are inspectable, and neither lives inside the brain you cannot trust.
Think of a city with laws and a separate police force. The laws are written down, debated, and changed. The police do not write laws, they enforce them. The citizen is bound by both. Change the laws without rewriting the police. Replace the police without rewriting the laws. And what that prevents is the agent that does the helpful thing instead of the allowed thing. The policy buried in a system prompt nobody can audit. The enforcement that breaks the moment a clever user finds the right words. The agent is the citizen. Tiresias is both halves of the rule of law.
Here is how they compose. Sol writes the past. Pantheon roots the present. Tiresias governs the future. Sol tells Tiresias what has happened, so a policy decision can reference history. Pantheon enforces the Tiresias decision at the moment of action, and every result Pantheon produces gets written back to Sol. The loop closes. The system can audit itself, not because any one piece is special, but because no piece is silent. That is the nervous system a fleet lives inside. So here is the thesis. The substrate problem, the auditability, the reliability, the inspectability, for the core organs, that part we have largely solved. The foundation is shipping, and it is open source. You can read the code and you can run the system. The hard part was never the brain. Here is what that unlocks. The droids you grew up watching were never a fantasy of impossible cognition. One of them remembers across every restart. That is Sol. One follows a protocol it cannot break, even when breaking it would be easier. That is Tiresias. One routes every signal through a system it did not author. That is Pantheon. None of that is a miracle of intelligence. It is exactly what the substrate provides. Build the substrate and the droids become a question of robotics, not a question of intelligence. Now the honest part. The substrate is built. The control layer is not. A real one, the thing that says which agents are bound by which rules, in which place, needs three things we do not yet have. A constitution with the standing of a charter, not a vendor's click-through. Geographic boundaries, because human law is not universal. And an identity bound to each running instance, tied to a place and an accountable party. That is a generation's work, and it is where this season points.
So welcome to the season. We have walked the city with Alfred, the records office, the exchange, the law, and the police. Over the next 8 episodes, he will take you inside each one, end to end, at fleet scale. Next, the spine, the one place every agent's call to every provider has to pass through. This is synthetic human intellect, SHI.